Hi, this is Dennis back from a holiday break, and we're going to work on one of those reels that I showed you as an upcoming preview. And I selected today the Shakespeare Prius. It's an older reel, but not that old. It's got a graphite or a plastic case to it. I think it's plastic. It's a moderately priced reel. I would say that these probably retailed for about $29 US. A step up from the Alphas. Shakespeare is known for value-priced reels, so they didn't go much beyond that. You would have to go into their next lines, the Quantums, and that to get to a higher-priced performer. But this is a solid reel. It's a 70 size reel. It came to me missing a handle, and I was fortunate enough to have a Shakespeare handle, and a lot of these handles are interchangeable. And I'm going to take this apart. We'll see what it's made of. It says it's got a single ball bearing to it, a 70 size reel, long cast spool. Not bad. It's not bad if you're an occasional angler. You know, if you go out a couple of times a season, then it's something that you know, will last you quite a long time if properly maintained. So I took that. I didn't even bother to put the handle on. Put it on in reassembly. Now I'm going to take the case off, and this, I notice as I look, the case does not go through under the rotor, so the 4 screws holding this case on will enable me to take the case off. Then we'll go remove the internals and show you how this reel works, and lubricate it and put it back out there for someone to use. So Shakespeare, again, it's not the bargain bin. It's not a cheap reel. It is an inexpensive reel, but it's got a good reputation as a solid reel and a price performer for the price that you do pay on these reels. And a lot of folks that have the Shakespeares love them and have used them for a long time. So we've removed the 4 side screws. I've put them into a convenient parts tray. That's so I know where to go get them when I go to reassemble a reel. And now we should be able to take the side plate off. So this one's probably been sitting a while. It's just looking for a little wedge. I'll just grab a little utility knife to just try and separate. There we go. And here's what we got inside. It's a very simple, straightforward design. It's got a bushing on the side case, a main gear. Looks like it's got some old grease in there, so we'll go clean that up. A bushing on the second side case, so we got 2 bushings and a bearing under the rotor. We have a simple crosswind gear and a crosswind block. The crosswind gear intersects with the smaller one in the back to drive the spool up and down. So this reel is in nice condition. It's quite possible that this reel was on a rod and reel combination in a department store, and somebody just kind of walked away with the handle, and it got returned to the manufacturer. I buy some wholesale lots every now and then from manufacturers, so or distributors that sell these types of things, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's what the case was here. I just took the spool off here. I removed the drag knob to do that, but I'm going to take the spool shaft out now. You do that by removing the screw from the crosswind block. And once you do that, I'm doing that so that we can get up under the rotor. If we get up under the rotor there, we're going to be able to service the ball bearing. Okay, so now I have the crosswind block and the crosswind gear, and now we're down to the basics. So I have a pinion gear left and the rotor up top. I'm going to go ahead and take this rotor off so that I can get underneath, make sure that the bearing is serviced. To do that, we remove the set screw from the little nut holder there. You can pick the little holder off there. And then we'll just grab a larger wrench and be able to take off the screw, the nut that holds the rotor to the assembly. Everything goes into that little parts tray. You'll notice also I'm wearing a protective glove. That protective glove is there for keep the oils and contaminants off. One of the things that's interesting here that I noticed may also have been a flaw, the anti-reverse spring here is not properly loaded into the anti-reverse dog. So it's a little bit unusual. Okay, so there's a little collar here that holds that anti-reverse spring. That kind of works as on a centrifugal action. And underneath that is the bearing and the pinion. Now this one is really clean. I'm thinking again that it probably was never used, and the chances are that, like I said, it got returned to manufacturer because the handle was missing from a retail seller. I'm going to take some reel oil. In this case, I use Real-X. It's designed for fishing reels. I'm just going to flood that bearing. And then we're going to go ahead and reset the collar with the anti-reverse spring on it. And now the anti-reverse spring belongs in that little groove on the anti-reverse dog. And you'll see as we run this that it'll flip that anti-reverse dog out when you go to reverse. That little tab on the anti-reverse dog is going to catch one of these ridges inside the rotor here to stop the forward progress of that. So this is not an instant anti-reverse reel, and that's one of the reasons why they save cost. This is an older school technology reel, and if you don't have to put an anti-reverse bearing in there, you can save a few dollars in the manufacturing process. Also, you saw on the reel 2 side plate bushings, not bearings. That'll save a couple of dollars as well. So I don't judge a reel too much by the number of bearings in it. People will ask me what the ideal amount is, and usually I'll say, I like 3, 1 on each side, 1 here, 1 on the other side plate, and the bearing under the rotor. But there's a lot of reels out there that are quality reels that don't have any bearings. We did one the other day. It was a Ryobi, and the Ryobis didn't have any bearings in there. It had 3 bushings in a setup like this, the old Penn Silver series, the 105, for example, which would match up with this. That only had the 1 bearing in it. So, be careful not to overthink number of bearings means, any particular thing other than a little bit smoother operation, but it's certainly not necessary in terms of performance. And again, a reel like this, if you're only going to use this reel occasionally over the course of a season, then bearings aren't going to be that important to you. Again, if you're going to use it as your daily driver kind of a thing, then it will be more important. This is the crosswind gear. It's got a little stud on it that drives the spool up and down. I'm just going to grab some reel grease, put a little on the backing, a little bit where the stud goes, and then we can just reset that crosswind gear into the case. Now, if you don't work on reels frequently, don't do what I just did there, which is just take all of these pieces and parts and throw them into a tray. Stop along the way, take pictures. It's important to know the sequence that you remove these, and it's important also to know how to put them back together again if you get stuck. So by all means, slow down, take pictures. It's not a race. Enjoy what you're doing, and it'll get you to a job well done. A little bit more blue grease. Again, this is a Penn Reels precision reel grease, and it doesn't matter who the manufacturer of the grease is, so long as it's a grease that's designed for fishing reels. Don't go using automotive greases or the like. Those are too thick. We had a question come in on my forum about Vaseline, which is a petroleum distillate, right? It's a petroleum jelly. And folks had asked about, can we use that? And that's too thin, right? That will break down over time. So go out and spend the extra few dollars and get the greases that are designed for fishing reels. So I put a little bit of blue grease onto the gear teeth, onto the far drive. I'm going to insert that now. We put it into the pinion gear as well. I'm going to insert the main gear in, do a little bit more of the blue grease on this side for that bushing. And now we can reinstall the shaft So the shaft is a D-shaped shaft, and it only will fit in the crosswind block one way. Just make sure that the flat side is facing out, and if you do that, it's easy enough to put it back in. I just grabbed the set screw for the crosswind block. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And then we'll button this up and we'll go up top there to service the drags. But overall, this reel is clean. So I like it. I like the reel. You don't have to have the most expensive reel on the block to catch fish. I've always said the fish doesn't know what's on the other side of the line. It's just interested in getting unhooked. The reel technologies that are out there in the value priced or the moderately priced reels may not be the current technology. You won't find elliptical gears. You won't find graphite cases. You won't find 10 ball bearings or anything, but that doesn't mean you can't catch fish with them. And there's a market for these. That value priced reel or moderately priced reel is a good way to start, because you'll learn what you like or don't like about a fishing reel from using it, and actually you'll learn what you like or don't like about fishing. And if you decide that you don't like fishing, then your investment, you're not invested that much in it, at a $30 price point, as compared to maybe going out and taking a recommendation of a friend and going getting a top line Shimano or Penn or something like that, and take a trip, find out you get seasick, don't like fishing, and now you got $100 and some odd reel that you don't know what to do with, right? So my advice always, if you have a youngster in there or an occasional fisherman, or you need a backup rod for a boat and a reel, is by all means go ahead and get one that's got a reputation for being dependable, and this one does. And I'm just putting a little bit of oil onto the bail assembly now. This one has a reputation for being dependable. You're not going to be able to find parts for it. Quite honestly, that's okay, because you probably won't find anybody to service it if you did find the parts. And see, I'm so busy talking here that I've didn't put the nut set back in. So there's two ways to do that. You can remove the shaft, or you can take the click rotor off, which I just did there. And I'm going to go put that set back in to hold that nut from spinning free. That's one of the advantages there of that parts tray. You can look into it and say, oh boy, there's a part that I forgot. And again, back to the point I was making earlier, if you don't know where the parts came off from, or the sequence that the parts came off, then you can also use that as a way to figure out what goes back on next. Okay, so this is the bottom of the reel, and it's very nice, very smooth. And again, I found a substitute handle. That's not the one that came with it, but doesn't matter. It will turn the reel and make it work. Okay, so now we're going to just take a quick look at the drag system up top here. There's a retainer clip that's inside the spool. It fits in a groove. And then underneath that is a series of metal washers and drag washers. We'll see if we can't get these out and make sure that they're properly serviced. So these are felt washers. So there's three types of drag washers in a reel. There's a felt washer, there's a Teflon washer, and there's a fabric washer. And these are felt. No problem. Penn uses felt washers on their Fierce line. So there's nothing wrong with them. These alternate felt, metal, felt. Yeah, this one's got a lot of washers in the stack here too. You've got keyed washers. So we got 10 washers in this one. That'll certainly produce a lot of drag force. Felt washers get oiled. That maintains their flexibility. These are a little bit dry. So I'm going to go ahead and start stacking these. So it goes a fabric washer. I'm going to use that oil, just give it a good dose. It'll work in as it spins. First of the metal, this is a circular one. Then we're going to go with the felt. We'll put another squirt of oil on that one. take the first of the keyed washers, and again, this is where taking pictures or paying attention to what you're doing helps, because those keyed washers go in the middle. Okay, a little bit more of a dose there. Next round one. Next fabric washer or felt washer, another squirt of the oil on that one. Last of the keyed washers, second one. Felt washer. Last of the round ones. So that's the way you set the drag stack. And then this is a spring clip now. You have to be careful. There's a groove that this rides in. You saw that when we removed it. You want to go ahead and set it. And I like to get one side of it set in that groove. You got to hold that, because if you don't hold it, it can shoot. And if it shoots, you're going to be looking for it around your shop or office or wherever you're putting this together. So that's it. And the purpose of that clip is to hold the stack inside the spool. It's not to put pressure on it. So don't worry that it's not contacting with the washer stack itself. That's the job of the drag knob. And that's the last of the pieces that we need to put on. So we take the drag knob, just get it set there, spin it on. I'm going to tighten it down just to make sure that it's operating fine. There we go, we're set, and we're not even all the way tightened down. Very good. Okay, so this reel's ready to go fishing. So what we saw here is it's basically a new reel that was missing a handle. That's sometimes what you'll find in flea markets. Again, this one came from a distributor. That's okay. But you might find them in a flea market. Somebody might have just kind of lost the spools, the handle or whatever. And then we're just going to clean off some of the dust on this one. So this one's ready to go fishing again. So that's the Shakespeare. It's a Prius. It's an older reel, but if you see one, you know that it's got a single ball bearing, 2 bushings. It's got a big main gear. It's a 70 size reel. In this case, it holds 200 yards of 20-pound test, so it's designed for bigger ocean fish or large catfish or the like. It's got a long cast spool on it, so it can be used from the surf. It's got the 10 drag washers up top there, so it's very durable in terms of the drag to be able to fight the bigger fish. And now it's got a handle on it to make it spin. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have one, it just showed you how to tune it up. If you're thinking about getting one, I think for the right price, it's a nice solid reel. It'll be dependable and last quite some time with the appropriate service. And if you have any Shakespeares, the Alphas, for example, the Alpha line, the Big Water line, they're all basically the same kind of fishing reel, the same kind of interiors. The only thing that might change differently is the way that the handle goes in. This one's got a side button on it as opposed to one that just screws into the main drive. But other than that, most of the Shakespeares line up exactly the same as the one you just saw here. So with that, I'm going to end the video. Questions and comments are always welcome. If you like this, please indicate that on YouTube. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Again, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.